key.
Ooh.
What's up, y'all? It's Dr. Paul,
Whoa.
Liberty Hill Comics, episode 66. Jack is in the house. Comic book conservation live show coming at you, as always, 8:35 p.m. Eastern. What's up, y'all? How's everybody doing? I'm joined by my almost always co-host, Phil from Phantom Restoration. How you doing, Phil?
Hey, how you doing, Dr. Paul? And how you doing, Shelby and Jax? Coming to you live as always from New York City, and I've had a very long week, drowning in comics as always. Very behind right now on many things, so I'm just trying to do my best to keep my head above water and get through work as safely and quickly as possible.
Well, after my high-powered intro, high-energy intro, that was a very low-key Big Apple.
Oh, man.
Hello, man.
Hey, it's been a long week. I try to, most importantly, I'm happy to be here with you guys. And yeah, I'm going to take a deep breath, here to decompress, and just talk comics with you guys.
This could be a very chill hour. It's all good. This could be a very chill hour. Shelby's not chill, though, and neither is Jack. Jack is never chill, that son of a bitch.
Nope.
How you doing, Shelby? Say hi to the people.
Hello, people. How are y'all doing? Hope y'all went out, saw the Fantastic Four. Oh, my God. It wasn't Superman good, but it is pretty damn good. They did a great job. I've been saying for years, the best way to do the Fantastic Four, and apparently Marvel listened because they did it exactly like I said they should. Oh, it was so good. Y'all will love it. It's great movie, great production design, great cast. It was really, really good.
Come on. I heard Fantastic Four and Superman both suck because they were woke.
Oh,
I don't
man.
know what the fuck woke
Go
means.
woke, go broke, right? Hey. I don't know. I haven't seen either yet, but I'm looking forward to seeing both.
I didn't make it out to Fantastic Four yet. I'm going to wait until my family can all see it together. So that's going to be this coming up weekend.
I had to go opening night. They had a lot. And of course, I'm not working, so I have no money. They had a cool big Herbie thing that you could have gotten. And
oh, wow.
Looked like they had some kind of special boxes that had a surprise in it and stuff. And oh my God, like I need more toys or stuff, right? It's like, so I just passed on all of it, but yeah, it was.
Well, I saw that.
Great.
I saw that Galactus helmet popcorn box, and I said must have, and then I saw that it was $80.
Yeah,
I thought,
not a must have.
Yeah.
A maybe have.
I've already got like a I've got like a Hasbro HasLab $500 Galactus. I guess I don't need that.
Yeah, that's whatever the fancy studio is, Galactus. I think that was $600.
You and I both have that Galactus. Yeah, we each have like 5 Galactuses.
Right? Yeah. I've also got the big action figures and all kind of stuff around here.
I got that Marvel First, the John Byrne FF240.
Yeah, I got that one up there, and I've got the
that one's hard to find now.
It is, and I've got the Franklin Richards where he made Galactus his herald. I've got that one over there.
You know, my mom actually painted that cover for me. I should put that up here. Actually, for maybe the next stream. Well, we got a lot to cover, so as much fun as I like kibitzing with you guys, I think we should jump in. Before we get started, let's say thank you to the folks that are bringing you this show ad-free, Collecting Chaos and Sales Boy Comics.
Go check out Collecting Chaos. He just finished up a Lois Lane book. Man, he took that thing all apart, pressed it. I mean, go check him out. I think, he's always kind of done a little bit of conservation and stuff on his channel, but I see he's kind of stepped up his game a little bit since he's been hanging around with us. And
Check
I love
out both
seeing
those
it.
channels.
Love seeing it.
I'll tell you what, actually, Sales Boy is very unique in his presentation style, fun, I think maybe the best idea I've seen for reinserting staples, full stop. He's got his own little invention that he made out of guitar string. If you haven't checked that out, go check out his channel. I definitely gonna build my own and start and try it out. I mean, it looks really like the best thing I've seen. So
is this for washed books or just for
reinserting staples after the fact for any reason?
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, you have to go see it. You have to go see it and see his rationale and how he uses it.
So many people are dropping such great content. Of course, the professor, of course, Jason. I can't be more proud of the community and stuff. I was just looking at I think it was Jason got some bookworms in his books over there. I was looking at over at our Facebook page. So if you're brand new around here and want to join us over on Facebook and ask questions or see what people are doing. And Jack, I don't want you biting on that. Oh my God.
Jack says I'm and I don't speak English.
So Collecting Chaos Sales Boy brought you this episode, and we've already got sponsors for next episode. Thank you, Don Carter. Appreciate you. He says, good evening. Collecting Chaos is here as usual. The aforementioned Sales Boy is here as usual. JCP, a regular. You Pluck My Last Nerve. My buddy Mike, Rom Space Knight. Vulu's here. The aforementioned professor Peter Alachi's here. Check out his channel, Experiments in Conservation. You Pluck My Last Nerve is here. Thank you for the super chat, Sales Boy. Keeping it moist as always. The Archivist Adrift is here. He says from Aunt May's guest room. Maybe he's referring to you, Shelby, or maybe he's checking in from Aunt May's guest room. Not sure. Neuro Comics says, hey, gang. And You Pluck My Last Nerve was tickled that I said the B word. You guys know I try to keep it clean on here, but sometimes.
I've already dropped 2 F-bombs.
Jack is just too much sometimes. Rob is here. Welcome, Rob. Don Carter. The guitar strings work great. So he's tried out Dylan's trick too and likes it. Unbothered Kitty, friend of the channel's here. Welcome. How are you doing, Kat?
The Rolling Stones have a song named it. I think it's okay. It's just a word.
Salesboy says, thank you, Paul. Yes. Less damage on book. Why I do it. It looks like it's just easier and faster too. So yeah, obviously critical that we do, we don't put our paper at risk, but if it's also faster and easier, man, way to go. Jerry the Jitterbug's here. Welcome, Jerry. Put out some great content in the last week.
What's up? Still waiting for you to unwrap our book.
Jason says it was Nick Smart with the bookworms. Yeah, looked like classic bookworms to me.
Yeah, I was a little curious because it made it sound like the damage was not there prior to him bagging them up, and oh man, I don't know how you could have missed some worms in there, but I don't know.
No, they lay the eggs and then the larva.
That's what I was wondering. Yeah, some larvae might have been hiding in there.
If I remember correctly, it's actually a beetle, right? So there's a beetle that can kind of go wherever it wants to, and then it lays an egg, and then the egg hatches, and then it becomes a larvae. The larvae eats the paper, and then eventually forms a pupa, and then becomes a beetle and takes off.
It's the circle of life. It's how we're all born.
Yeah. Gorilla Monkey 3K is here. Welcome. Jerry says, don't get depressed, Shelby. When I do, it's going to be a great upload. He'll get to it. Hey, we've seen Jerry open books that sat for 2 years before he opened them. So, it'll be great. All right. Well, with that, let's jump into
my God. I am so excited
about thumbnail
this
book.
book.
Speaking of Jerry the Jitterbug, I pointed this book out to Jerry. I know he's trying to.
I think of Jerry when I see Wiz books now.
I know he's trying to put together a complete run of Wiz. This one can't be easy. And I thought, maybe it's conserved. Maybe it goes for a discount. Also, it's in this early conserved label. With the purple on it, which I was thinking this has got to throw some bidders off. Maybe
it looks almost universal. Maybe
somebody gets a good price on this, with the purple label, because I think a lot of people don't know what's going on when they see the purple. They take a step back. So anyway, I don't know who won it, but like I said, I flagged it for Jerry before the auction, and this just crossed the auction block this past week. So I thought it was a really fascinating book, and we're going to talk about it. Wiz is a great anthology series. It has a lot of great covers. To me, especially the early covers are really good, and this one's no exception. I think this is a phenomenal cover. Just the composition and the colors and everything, the action line here, the emotion, the energy, it's beautiful. So without further ado, let's jump into it. I've shown this a few times now, but when we feature these really early books, I want to put them in context, right? So the Golden Age didn't start, maybe it started with a bang with Action Comics, but then it smoldered for a while. You have close to a full year goes by before DC introduces another, we'll call it a superhero, even though it's kind of more a pulp hero. And then almost a year and a half before you see Marvel jump in with, again, superheroes, but they're still kind of like horror-based superheroes. And then we really get into the thick of what we think of the Golden Age superheroes with Pep 1 in January of 40, and then January of 40, but a week later is Flash Comics 1 from DC with the Flash and Hawkman, and then Wiz 1, well, I should say Wiz 2, and we're going to talk about this for a little bit. Wiz 2 in February of 1940 introduces Captain Marvel. Later, legally determined to be a ripoff of Superman and rights relinquished to DC. I maintain that I don't really think he is a ripoff. I think that Fawcett didn't care enough to defend their intellectual property here, and they just let it go because the Golden Age was over. I could point to a whole bunch of things, but not the least of which is Captain Marvel can fly from his first appearance. He flies in this issue here, Wiz 2, February of 1940. For context, Superman doesn't fly in the comic books until 1944. So how is he his exact ripoff of Superman when he flies 4 years before Superman does?
Yeah, they're just, I feel like they always base it off of they just throw in the car. And they just
it's kind of ridiculous. But again, I don't think it was so much a legal battle as it was an economic one. Fawcett had thrown in the towel, and they were not putting money into defending a character that wasn't making them any money at that time.
Yeah, and I love Wiz. I love Wiz comics. I've been collecting off and on several of the Captain Marvel series. I agree with you, Paul, that it's not a straight one-for-one ripoff, and there's a lot of differences, of course, between the two characters. What really hurt them was whenever they were creating the character, like it was kind of said, we want something like Superman. And that's what kind of hurt it. And that was actually reported in court.
We could, we could do a whole, that's true. We could do a whole nother episode. I steered away from it. I don't know. Maybe I brought it up.
I think I might have done an episode a long time ago on it on my channel, talking about it a little bit.
So the original creator
was selling 10 million copies a month, where Superman was selling about 3 million.
Of course. But Shelby, to that point, even the original creator created a team of superheroes, and it was supposed to be one for each letter of Shazam, and they were each going to have one power. And then the editor said, lump them into one dude. Yeah. So even the origin, even the Genesis is not a straight one-for-one ripoff, right? I mean,
exactly.
Can I just say, I never noticed it until now, but really, half of his costume is more of a ripoff of the Flash, looking right next to the Flash.
Oh, we'll touch on this. We'll touch.
I never noticed that.
So he actually, so he's actually published in January of 1940 in a couple of ash cans, and there's even more of a Flash influence there. But before we move on, though, you know, Jason gives me a laugh out loud at least once each episode. So I think this is a shot across the bow right at you, Professor. But I'm gonna leave that there for just a second. That's just mean. But we're gonna do some other mean stuff later. Second appearance of Captain Marvel. Second appearance of Sivana, his arch nemesis. As I mentioned before, Wiz Comics is an anthology, so he's just the lead story. There's 5 or 6 other stories here. As we just showed you in context, very early Golden Age. It is often presented this way. So CGC denotes it this way: Wiz Comics number 3, and then parenthetically number 2. The reason why is because Wiz Comics' first issue is actually not on the cover, but in the indicia says number 2. So there is no Wiz Comics number 1. Then you get this issue, which is Wiz Comics number 3 by the indicia, but doesn't say it on the cover. And I'll get a little bit more into this story in another slide. But this one, written by Bill Parker, famously and fabulously, art by C.C. Beck, also famously and fabulously. We're all huge fans. This is why they called it the Golden Age, folks. So the way that Fawcett fixed their numbering nomenclature here is they just made 2 issues 3. So the one on the left is the issue 3 that we're featuring today. This is published in March of 1940, at least as far as a cover date goes. We know that it hit the stands, you know, maybe as 6 weeks or 2 months earlier. No number on the cover, but in the indicia it says number 3, which again is the second issue. And then they wanted to correct this so that this one would effectively kind of historically be retconned as number 2, and Wiz Comics number 2 would historically be retconned as Wiz Comics number 1, because Fawcett published the 3rd issue of Wiz Comics, also numbering it number 3. And there you see the number 3 on the cover. And there again, you see these just phenomenal, especially again for the early covers in this run. They're just breathtaking.
Yeah, C.C. Beck, I've loved his artwork, but he seemed to put a lot more detail on covers than on the interiors, and you just can't. I mean, yeah, you said it. Look at them; those are freaking brilliant covers.
Really amazing. Jason, I think you brought this up last week. He put $2 on it so that I'd correct my slide. Thanks, Jason. I looked at it, and I forgot what your comment was. I thought you were referring to I didn't have it in my slide, but in fact I have it there. But you're pointing out that I have the wrong date, so I'll double check that. Thank you. I appreciate you. All right. So why was Wiz Comics number 1 numbered number 2? The reason why is because, as I've read at least, I'm not sure this makes entirely that much sense to me, but Fawcett threw out 2 ash cans in January of 1940. One they named Thrill Comics, and here you see it. This particular Thrill Comics, there are 4 in the census. This 9-0 is Top Pop. And Captain Marvel is in there. He's named Captain Thunder. This sold for $20,000 back in 2008. I don't know what that would be worth today. Pretty good money, I imagine. Here's what's interesting. Well, there's lots interesting about this, but here's another interesting. Look at this. Basically same cover, but Flash Comics. Look at this logo, and this is ash canned January of 1940, Phil, to your point. It really looks like the Flash, right? This is This is before Flash 1 is published, if I'm not mistaken, but after the Flash 1 ash can, where DC preserved the rights to Flash comics. They did not, by the way, you can find copies of that out there too, and copies of that cover. Flash is not on the cover. It's
they bribed a newsboy
cover from Adventures or something.
The Fawcett office gave a newsboy like $5 and said, hey, kid, tell us what they're doing over in the office when you deliver the paper. And the kid came back. He's like, they got a character with this. The name of the Flash. We're like, perfect. We're going to call it.
No joke, man. Here's something else interesting to me. So this Flash comics, there are 6 of these in the census. This 9.4 is tied for top pop. This one sold for $14K on the exact same day in 2008 that the Thrill Comics 190 sold for $20K. The contents are reputedly essentially the same. Yeah. I guess the big difference is just there are only 4 in the census of Thrill, and there are 6 here. Although one would think this being the 9.4 might have a premium over a 9.0. Hard to say, I guess. They're both effectively sort of near mint. But 20 grand versus 14 grand seemed kind of significant to me. I don't know about you guys. I feel like I'd just as soon have this 9.4 for 14 than the 9.0 for 20. They're effectively the same book. They're ash cans from, I mean, really, if I'm thinking about these, I'm not really thinking of 6 of this, 4 of the other. I'm thinking Fawcett produced 10 ash cans, and that's the market for these. Yeah. I don't think someone really cares that much whether they have the Flash one, the Flash Comics one, or the Thrill Comics one. But what do I know? I'm not quite in this echelon of the whales that are looking for these things. Still very cool, huh?
Neither.
Yeah,
they're around, right? Like look, these are expensive, right? But they're not completely unattainable. If you were willing to sacrifice some other books in your collection and work, you know, these could be put into, I think, many collectors' PCs.
If I could just say one side story too, just for the record, I'd say it's more than 50% likely that the ash cans we just looked at right now, we're even looking at, because of the story that I know to be 100% true, and I know at least 2 named individuals that were in the story, who I won't name, retelling it briefly here, and that is when the Fawcett offices in New York City were closing, some guys went in there hoping to buy some stuff. Were told, you can buy stuff over here, you can't touch anything over here. And as soon as the secretaries went away, they made a beeline for all the stuff they're not supposed to look at and take, and they just took a bunch of stuff, including ash cans. And that's the only reason that many of the ash cans even exist, because they took them because they would have been thrown out anyway. So it was one of those kind of necessary evils, to have it exist. So just as a quick side story, hey,
a lot of things survived. A lot of things survived because people absconded with them when it might have been questionable to do so, and we're probably glad that they did. Right?
Cool books to look at.
Yeah. So Universal only 35 copies. So again, when we present these really early Golden Age books, these really important books, man, come on, 52 all grades in the census, 35 Universal. This is if you're trying to put together a whiz run, I mean, good luck to you.
You do not see this book very often. I've seen a lot of Whiz comics, as I'm sure Jerry has too. You do see Whiz Comics #2 around, because it's considered the first appearance of Captain Marvel. I've never, ever seen a Whiz Comics #3.
In person, yeah.
Yeah.
Median grade here is a 4.5, 15 restored, 2 qualified. This doesn't show it. I'm not sure that I got the conserved.
It's not on there yet. It doesn't show it. Maybe they haven't updated yet.
Well, this one's been conserved for a long time.
It's in restored.
It's in the restored population, though, right?
Yeah, is it?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, but I also may have clipped this this screen grab without capturing. There may be other conserved books. I'm not sure. It doesn't look like it, but
I don't think it is.
Yeah. At any rate, tough book, important book, great cover. The creators that you want. This book has everything going for it. Universal. Go Collect's algorithm says $8,000 for the fair market value in a 7.0. Last sale was 9, but interestingly, it was back in 2022, and in the 2 days apart, separated, 2 books, 7.0 Universal, one with off-white, one with white pages, sold for $6,800 and $9,000. So somewhere between those two numbers is probably the fair market value. I don't think we've seen a ton of appreciation because that was kind of the peak. We saw cooling, and we're seeing now a reacceleration. I used this $8,000 number. There were also some sales right around it that were a little bit lower. So in close, by grades, unless I have a compelling reason, I tend to use Go Collect's algorithm when we do these comparisons. So that's what I did here. So let's take a closer look at this gem. What a beauty, huh?
What a cool cover.
So this one was graded back in 2014. So as we discussed, there was a brief period when CGC created the conserved grade as a designation, during which they weren't quite sure how to kind of make it visually stand out yet, where they did this kind of universal blue, but with a purple stripe. And I gather this was like less than 2 years where they did this, right? And then
it wasn't very long.
Then they developed the gray, blue with a gray stripe, right?
Correct.
Off-white to white pages here. Conservation includes tear sealed to cover, cover and centerfold reinforced, staples replaced. The grader's notes include right top back cover, foreign rust stain, right center back cover, foreign rust stain, left top front cover, chip out, bottom front cover, small crease, breaks color, staples replaced. When they say foreign rust stain, this is to differentiate from a stain that would come from the book's own staples, for those that might be wondering. So,
from another country.
Right.
Yeah, it's weird wordage if you don't know. Yeah.
I mean, it's a beautiful book. Can
I just say, imagine if there was just a single Batman cover with Batman instead of like that. That would be like one of the most valuable Batman covers ever. It's crazy. Like, I think this book doesn't really. I mean, we don't see it all that often, but man, it is loved. It should get more love.
Yeah. It's a beautiful book to in grade. I can see the structural issues that were corrected. Just above the cannon, you can see on the spine where there was a tear that was corrected. These are the things that are keeping it, even though it presents quite well from being higher grade.
Can you go back to it also might be possible that was just where the staple was replaced, and it's hard to tell because I have the slide there, but in the very center in the green of that guy, that could also be one of the tears or the tear.
I think that is a tear as well, but I think the staple is beneath the left hand of the guy under the cannon, the highest up guy.
You are right, and it is
above the cannon,
singular. Yeah. So
yeah. Nevertheless, like I said, beautiful book. Here you can see, so it looks like it was stacked maybe on some other comics, and the staple from a different exogenous comic left these rust stains. You can see them here on the back, and that's why they call it a foreign stain. It's not based on the staples of this book. They don't always designate it that way, by the way.
Right, but you have to assume that what we know from the grader's notes and, of course, the conservation notes is several books probably were on top of each other, had some moisture introduced, and all the staples were rusted, because that's why the staples were replaced on this book, was due to the rust. I would also think that maybe like it says, centerfold reinforced. We've all seen rusted staples, and we've seen where it's eaten away the paper on the centerfold.
Oh yeah.
The only caveat,
I wouldn't doubt if some of that reinforcement came due to the rust, because it does look like the rust, some of the rust along with the rusty staples have been removed, and then of course the staples were replaced. Go ahead, Phil.
I think you're like 100% saying the right thing. My only hesitation is that there's no notation in the notes about rusted centerfold, because even if the staples were replaced, if they were that bad they needed to be replaced, there's almost always rust migration, and then that's not included, and more importantly too, you can almost always see it through the front cover.
So there is, and so I'm wondering if it was cut out, and this was also back before they did not allow piece fill. So I'm wondering if maybe it was just designated as reinforcement versus piece fill.
That's a good point. That's a really good point. In fact, maybe just to make the argument, it's possible that whatever rust migration was there was able to be mostly removed to the point of where whatever is considered reinforcement is in fact a piece added, but they only consider it's the pieces added is underneath the umbrella term of reinforcement. So that's
if it's really small, if it's a really small sliver of rusted paper there. Yeah, that's my take on this.
Yeah.
I think Shelby articulated it well, but that's how I read the most likely scenario here. Welcome, Christina Payne, joining us from either Shelby's channel or from the Captain's channel. Welcome, everybody joining us from those other channels. We like to always say hi to all of our new viewers. Also, note there's a use of the R word here on the back cover. I won't say it out loud. I don't want to be canceled.
Oh, interesting.
There it is. So you've seen the grader's notes. You've seen it up close. You know that fair market value for a universal is $8,000 with a high water mark of 9, but a sale under 7 in the exact same week. What?
I cannot see that now on the back cover. Hey, I'm sorry. I think it's a word, and in context, I think it's
I don't think
appropriately used. I don't think anyone can assume anything wrong. In fact, that's probably the best usage of the word in context I've ever seen, and I'll leave it at that. I cannot see that on this cover.
I don't know why you got an issue with the word ring.
I endlessly debate it with my oldest daughter, actually. Enough. But these are the times we live in. What are your guesses, folks? Get your guesses in here. What did this 7.0 Universal with the purple stripe sell for this week, knowing that Universal 7.0 fair market value is about $8,000?
Shelby, what's your guess, since Paul definitely knows already, obviously.
Jerry wants to be canceled. Jerry wants to be canceled.
Hey, that's the name. It's what it says. That's the name.
I mean, Paul in the description of the video says what was kind of a
you won't believe what it sold for.
There you go. We won't believe what it sold for.
We had to do that just to get some viewers for our channel.
Yeah, do a little clickbaiting. But with an 8K, I'm around, with Paul's comment, I would say around 7.
Okay. All right.
Well, you think
it's a beautiful book. I mean, it's a beautiful book.
Price is right.
I mean, we talked about it already. It's stunning. It's very difficult to find. It presents amazing. So
amazing.
Phil, you chew on it.
Where did it sell? Can I ask that?
It's sold at Heritage. Yep. Okay. It's sold at Heritage. You Pluck My Last Nerve is at $5,000. Rob is at $6,300 essentially. Gorilla Monkey 3K is at $5,550. Collecting Cast $7,500. Sales Boy is at $38,000. He's not a follower. He's not a follower. He's a trendsetter. $5,000 at New Row Comics. The Professor's in at $6,000. $4,500 for the Archivist Jason Adrift. Rom Space Knight says 6,775. Vulu's at 4K. Shelby's at 7K. Where you at there, Phil?
I am going to make an educated guess right around $7,800. That's my
78.
Ooh.
78. If you've got a guess and you haven't put it in yet, put it in now. So I'm about to reveal it.
I really like
We're
this
about to
cover a lot.
name the winner of episode 66. You guessed it. 7,200.
Damn.
Isn't that a nice sale?
That is a sweet sale. So
That is a huge sale.
Collecting
And I
Chaos
was-
technically
I was
went
close.
over. So
Collecting
Rom
Chaos
Space
went
Knight, unless
over.
someone went 7. Does that? I mean, do we
I
do that
went-
if you went over? It doesn't count, or do we?
Well, Shelby
was
plays for fun because he's a co-host, but he was actually at 7K.
Oh, okay.
He would be like if he was one of the family members in the radio station, he can't call
I wouldn't
in
be able to play.
to the show and get the
Like
ticket.
everyone watching is suspicious of Shelby's guess, but we also know that.
So congratulations. I think we go if we go Price is Right rules, it's Mike, Rom Space Knight. And if we go closest, then it's probably KK, Collecting Chaos, right?
Oh, dang. Hey, I mean, in all
Congrats
honesty,
to everybody who played. Everyone who played is a winner.
That's right.
yeah.
Y'all are winners just for being.
I was going to say, I think Jerry's the real winner if he's got a copy of this and he got for under a couple thousand. That's pretty
Nice.
sweet.
Yeah, way to go, Jerry. 90% of Universal fair market value.
Nice.
I'll tell you. So as much as yes, the title's clickbait. Come at me if you like. I was shocked because I really thought that purple stripe would throw bidders off. I did not think we were going to get a strong bid on this book because if you're not educated, and let's face it, very few people are on comic book conservation. By the way, buy this book, get yourself educated. Then that just throws you off. Like, who wants to deal with what is this purple stuff? I don't.
Can I say one comment though about that? I genuinely think when you look at it, it looks more universal than it does restored, because I think at least my eye goes to the blue hue, and the purple at the top is, even though it's not gray like it should be, my first thought is, aside from the label text, this looks universal.
So let me cast it a different way. Let's say I theoretically have two books exactly the same. One is this old label with the purple line. The other one is a new label with the gray line. And I put them both in an auction. Which book do you think sells for more?
It's not going to be the answer you like, but I think it's going to be. It depends on what the notes are on the book. If they're both,
I'm saying it's identical book. Let me cast it a different way. It's literally the identical book. Let's say this. Let's say I bought the book in purple and I just reholder it and I throw it back out.
I really think that the price would be about the same. I really don't think there'd be a big difference. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm being naive.
I assume that purple, you hear dude, there's literally an acronym, PLOD, Purple Label of Death.
Yeah.
I've never heard GLOD. That's not a thing. People don't say that, right? And I get that it's not all purple. I get that.
This is what I was trying to say. I think
even
it's within the nuance.
Even like a hint of purple is just going to throw, a buyer off, I think. Personally, I would think that there would potentially be a market just buying these 2-year labels, these ones with the purple, and literally just reholdering them and then selling them.
Yeah.
My guess,
I totally agree with you.
You could pick up some equity doing that. Minus seller's fees, forget that for the moment. But I think you could do that.
Would you make the argument then that this book would have gone for $8,000 if it was reholdered in a newer conserved holder?
So to your point, this is why I titled this what I titled it. I was shocked it went for this much with the stank of purple on it. If it was gray, I don't know that it would have gone for more. If it was gray and it got this price, I would have been less shocked. I guess that's my point.
Yeah.
Thoughts? It looks like Jerry agrees. Jerry agrees gray line is superior to Purple Line, at least
Hey,
in terms
Vulu,
of.
so they pay more.
Yeah,
for
Vulu
gray.
says they pay more for gray.
Hey, this seller should have got this book reholder. They left at least $1,000 on the table. What were they doing? What were they thinking?
Who knows though? Who knows? I don't know. And there's so few sales. Who knows? But I was surprised by it.
And right, and I just looked it up. So it only sold July 18th. So that was like 9 days ago.
Yeah.
Mm.
I'm always posting fresh material here, Shelby. Never stale.
No, I'm with you. You know,
it might have the stank of purple, but it's not stale.
No, and it was only 8 days ago. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I don't know. People's percent. I don't know. You just don't see the book so often. And I was just looking at zoomed in scan of it, and the book looks so damn good.
Yeah.
I think that normally people might have played the if I were to remove what's there, let's say the cover's detached, it's a VG at best, it's a 4.0 universal, and then you're playing the what's a 4.0 universal, but that doesn't necessarily apply to a book like this.
It didn't help you here.
So, yeah, exactly.
It didn't help you here at all.
Yep.
I think JK makes a good point here. It's a really hard book. It has great visual appeal.
So hard.
The conservation here was very well done. This is not a little bit of conservation. This was an actual intentional conservation job. Somebody did a very good job, and the market rewarded them. So good on you. Hope everybody enjoyed that. As usual, I tried to get into a little bit of history, a little bit of trivia, keep it interesting, and I thought it was a really fun book to talk about. So hopefully you enjoyed that. Just as we go to our B segment, please give us a thumbs up, like the channel, let everybody know that you enjoy this and what we're doing. Go out, vote for somebody for the Comic Book Community Awards for YouTube. As per usual, I will not necessarily say go vote for this channel, but go vote for somebody. Everybody's doing it for the love. There's nobody in this space that, we just don't, it's too niche for us to be doing this for anything other than the love. We're all investing. This is a huge loss leader for all of us. Even those of us that are monetized are not nearly even getting back minimum wage for the efforts we're putting in. So please go show some love. Check us out in the Facebook group, and I'll just probably use this little moment to plug all of our stuff. Congratulations to all the folks that have already been nominated for the Comic Book Community Awards, many of which are here in the chat. I won't try to name them because I will inadvertently leave somebody out, but you know who you are. And if you haven't yet nominated somebody or voted, please go do so. And with that, I'm excited to say, let's get into this B segment. And I'm going to be putting my Jason Adrift hat on, as I will play spoiler as he does against Archie, against the character featured in your segment here, Phil.
Oh, well. So
as I usually do.
Another R name.
Just to say beforehand, too, I was going to put together a segment of an Amazing Fantasy 15, and I had my traditional before and after scans. I had a couple process photos, but not a ton. And not that there's anything wrong. Sometimes I like doing just a shorter segment anyway. But thinking about it, I kind of would have rather put that to the side to show, maybe multiple copies of that book I've worked on in one segment together. So you can see some slight variation in printings and in color and wear and, and everything just in different copies. So with that said, I asked Dr. Paul beforehand if it makes sense, and we agreed. We think it does. Several months back, we had a bit of a snafu with getting everything set up with the live stream when Dr. Paul here wasn't able to make it. And while some of you have seen this book, I know the viewership wasn't that high on it. So I figured, hey, we could show it again. If you've already seen it, that's okay. Maybe you'd like to see it again because we don't get to see this book all that often. It's a loved and hated book amongst the real collectors of it, as we were joking about earlier. But nonetheless, Detective Comics 38, and this was an old project that I did many years back. So figured
It's
I'd
a beauty.
show this.
I mean, it ruined Batman, but it's a beautiful book. And you know, I have that registry collection that is DC Golden Age first appearances, and it's on the list. If you want to compete, you got to be out there. So
it's still not a cheap book, and it's still a first appearance. So, so this book came to maybe 5 years ago, something like that, in this CBCS holder, and so. What was the notes? The centerfold was married. The cover was detached and completely split. And the centerfold that was married was also detached. So just kind of sitting in there. So you have a totally split and attached cover. And the centerfold was detached. And as far as I remember, too, virtually totally split. So what do we do with something like this?
One thing I want to point out here is that this is pretty common in the early Golden Age, where you would have, especially among DC books, where you would have the cover and then the splash page is essentially a redrawing of the cover in many aspects with maybe some additional information because the trade dress isn't taking up so much space. This is true in a lot of issues of All-Star and Action and Detective, and I kind of really think it's neat. Sometimes the interior is redrawn. Sometimes you get more of the image like you do here. And it's a nice feature. It's really not seen today, but it's kind of universal in these pre-war DCs.
Even if you see some Archie covers, and I'm not going out of my way to say that it happened in this case because it likely didn't, but sometimes the actual original art page was the splash page, and then what they did was they basically statted that
the
main
covers
image to use to make the cover, because they were like, all the work's already being done here, grab it from where the legs cut off and go up. So
there's definitely examples of that, and or they'll sometimes tweak them for the cover. Like there's at least one All-Star cover where they took that first splash page, but they cut a few of the characters out and mirror image them and move them around a little bit just to sort of fit on the cover better. But yeah, they did. It wasn't sacrosanct, maybe like you would think about it today or hope it was. This was just work, and so that they would photocopy it and cut it up and paste it on and send, and then make another photocopy and have somebody color that and be done. Call it a day.
Yep. And hey, you even had a guy named Bob Kane putting his name on this when it was almost certainly other artists. Though.
Yeah, I was about to say they moved his signature from the down to the corner from in between Batman and Robin. I mean, the biggest thing with Bob Kane is he actually had lawyers, and it was written in his contract with DC that his name would appear.
Well, he was almost unique among these creators in that he was wealthy coming in, right?
He was.
Most of the other creators were they were definitely working or lower class socioeconomic.
It's the build of the character. He's like, hey,
yeah.
His ego is probably saying he was Batman himself, but hey, we gotta love him and hate him, because without him, we wouldn't have Batman. So, so this copy here, this was the before and after scans of the front and back cover. So you can see here in the scan that the cover is split there. You can see on the left that should wrap around cleanly. You're seeing the interior page there on the left of where the ink is. So
beautiful.
And then here's the interior, a little bit of a spine roll.
Oh, wow.
That awesome house hat.
Oh, look at the house ad is so early that the All-American Comics, which was headlined by Green Lantern from 16 on, doesn't have Green Lantern yet. It has Ultraman. Unreal.
Which sounds, sorry, Green Lantern, but Ultraman sounds cooler. So.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
And Batman has the cowl. I mean, this is this is right at that point where some of the next issues of Detective Comics, in the Batman logo on the cover, he'd have the cowl, but the Batman character himself was just a shell who he was before Robin got introduced.
Oh yeah, and Sandman didn't headline Adventure for very long either. He was already ushered out late 40s in terms of headlining Adventure. So it's so early. Well, we talked about it. What did I
publishing 6 comics?
Yeah, well, no, were they by this time? Maybe this predates Batman 1? Yeah, I guess they were. No, was Superman 1 out by then? By this time? Might have been. If so, well, they have what else do they have at this time? I don't know. Somebody in the chat, let us know if they were putting anything else out at the time. This also is not just national, but this is Americans' offerings too, right? Because Flash and All American are actually over at American, and then Adventure, Detective Action, and More Fun are over at National. So this is just as American Comics was getting going as well, and they were starting to market, right?
All right, onto the nitty gritty. So this copy was before any leaf casting, before I was doing any leaf casting, because it really didn't need it. I think at this time I had sent a few covers to Kenny Sanderson that would have made sense to benefit, but this was one of the last ones right before CGC's changed their stance on piece fills. So I remember actually almost going to submit this book and hesitating because I was getting books back in purple plod labeled folders because I was adding structural pieces along the spine for reinforcement under the Conserved label, and that was no longer allowed. So I had to remove very, very tiny binary piece fills at the very top and very bottom of this. So, but that said, there was still a lot of work to be done. Most importantly, the frayed edge of both the covers really needed a lot of tedious attention, and you can see all the folds there. Those all need to be carefully humidified and folded back. Thankfully, this is a thick Golden Age cover, so you have a little bit more pliability and forgiveness in the paper versus a Marvel book from the 60s where if you're not careful, you fold it back and then you just attached it. So great, good job for folding it back. That's not helpful. So here at least the paper's strong enough to get it back.
And did you humidify with a humidifier, or did you spray?
This was before I even had my nifty ultrasonic humidifier.
Yeah.
Hey. And so in this case, I almost certainly just took some cotton swabs and got them as lightly damp as absolutely necessary, and then just rolled them over the area. Okay. And then with one of my many brushes that I have, did the same thing basically, and got the bristles just damp enough to be able to kind of work with it, so you're not trying to fold back dry paper. You can introduce moisture into the paper with less fear. You don't necessarily need to just have humidity hit it without it touching the paper, but you do need to be careful, because if you use an excessive amount, obviously you'll introduce stainings and tie lines and all these things too. So it's very much a less is more. And you also want to be careful too, because if an area like this is very dirty before you're working, I would never recommend dry cleaning something like this first.
Right.
Like in these kind of instances, I learned this the hard way from working on some $1 to $2 Western Golden Age books that were worth nothing. I learned mistakes on those where I realized, if you're trying to dry clean this, do all the mending on tears, especially like this first, then worry about dry cleaning, unless it's something like that you really need to tackle. Otherwise,
I agree.
You're gonna you want to already handle it as less as possible, and dry cleaning, depending on how you do it, it's you can cause more strain on the paper than you may think otherwise.
Yeah, and that's why I asked, is because I'm sure Paul has too, dealt with this many tears and stuff up a spine. And a lot of times I'll just, Paul and I both, I think, would lay a piece of Hollytex and then spray it with water and just let it kind of soak in and then do your arrangement. But with this many tears, you can also see like the layers, like you have different layers that have almost separated, and spraying it would definitely not be the correct way to do this. So that's why I was curious of if you actually use a humidifier. Jason just asked, what is a sonic humidifier? In a nutshell,
it's a fog machine. It uses a sonic. It actually uses ultrasonic waves.
Ultrasonic, yeah.
It's cool mist, so that way you're not introducing
any. Right, I was about to say, and there's no heat associated with it, unlike a steamer, which would have boiling water that produces it. This is just a fine.
And one of the advantages, as somebody corrected me earlier in an earlier show, was that with the steamer, you're literally, evaporating water off the surface and then moving it somewhere. So you're getting pure, essentially distilled water, right? Which we've pointed out is not very good for paper. But with one of these sonic, again, they call them sonic, but it's ultrasonic humidifier, I believe. You're actually sonicating little droplets of fluid off the surface, again, a la fog. And so they can actually carry with them chemicals, and because it's not a distilled pure water. So you can, for example, and I have not tested this myself, but I believe it is correct, that you can put buffered water in there and it will actually deliver buffered fog, essentially.
So since people are asking, I'll say this, and in the new book that Paul and I are working on, we actually go into a lot more detail in the humidification process. In this book, we just basically kind of talk about a humidity chamber, and I think a steamer is about all we talk about. In the other book, because we had a lot of people reach out to us. So yes, I think some people have already answered the question about the diffuser. The problem is, and I know Paul has brought this up several times, is in a humidity chamber, a steamer, a diffuser, you cannot control the amount, nor the area in which you're humidifying, right? Because if you put a steamer up to it, or even the ultrasonic, you try to be precise, but it's going to, wick. It
won't be as uniform.
Yeah, it's not going to be as uniform. It's going to wick into other areas. That's why I asked the question, because Phil brought up an excellent point of using a very lightly damped Q-tip to add moisture or humidity, in a way, right, to the paper, because it allows you to be very precise in the amount and the area in which you are needing that moisture in order to do, like he's doing here, is spread out the paper, align the fibers. Like if you notice, he has an overlap tear where the picture of the curtains are. He had to get that overlap going the other way. You have right above that the almost splitting of the layers of the paper, and you have to work one, then you have to work the next one. So yeah, I mean, tedious work, but I'm glad that yes, we discussed that, because there are alternatives. I know that Susan would take a very, very, very lightly damp towel, and she would just lay it over the entire edge and then work it.
Sure.
Which is another way. And she would use cotton swab then to work it, right? So there's boys.
For me, the bottom line is understand that there are many different ways to do this work. And depending on how you approach it, some are better than others, depending on your skill set. But understand the physics and the thermodynamics behind how fluids move, how they move down, gradients, etc., so that you can understand how they affect paper, so that you can understand how to get the best results. And so I see many people here in the comments saying, this is better, that's better. To me, it should be more, I prefer this in terms of my work style to that, because I don't think one is necessarily better than the other. It may be better for you in the way that your workflow goes, but personally, I use a humidity chamber for most of what I'm trying to do when I'm trying to humidify a book. And to a certain degree, it's slower, but I'm a hobbyist, so that's fine. If I was a professional and had to do more volume, maybe it wouldn't be the best. But all of these are useful tools. They all have advantages and disadvantages. They can all be the best tool for certain very specific tasks.
I just want to add to what you said too. I hear this sometimes, or I'll see it in various social media, or people just saying it kind of anecdotally, like they're the best presser, they're the best restorer, they're the best whatever. And I always think of this interview with Marlon Brando, where he's being interviewed by this woman who's saying basically, you're regarded as the best actor that's ever lived. Like, how do you come to terms with that? And his answer is, like kind of in parentheses Americans, but we have this fascination with being the best of anything. There's no nuance, basically, is what he's saying. Like there's no, like it always has to be a competition. It can't just be this person is independently very good, this technique is independently very good. I really think that you make a good point in saying, I think this works well for me. Because really, we're kidding ourselves if we're saying this is the best way. There's multiple ways to do this. There's ways no one knows about because people are secretive in the way that they do it, and they don't want anyone to know. And they found out a way that's, very economical and saves them a bunch of time, and they know how much they can push the paper. So,
absolutely. One thing that's universally true is you have to keep it moist if you want to be successful.
Hey, it is true. And this paper too, and I remember hearing this early on by someone else. Paper is born in water. And if you've watched this channel and you see like leaf casting at full submersion, and you've got over that mental hurdle of seeing a fully submerged piece of paper and going, oh my God, you're going to destroy that. So no, it's okay. That's how it was created. There's the nuance. So when I see this before and after photos too, all I can think about is ones that I've done in the past where I learned, that little tear on the bottom over the curtain. I flipped the sheet over before I mended that to make sure that if I had to choose between it being perfect on the inner cover or the outside cover, I want it to be as perfect as I can from the outside, because that's where you're going to see it. And those are those little things where you can do all this work and then seal the tear and then look and be like, crap, there's like a little sliver of color that I prevented from showing because I was more concerned about working at it from this side than that side. And those are those things you don't even think about until you've done it. And then you're like, oh man, all I'm seeing when I look at the back cover is that sliver of ink now. And it's so, if you do this, those are those things will be critical of yourself.
I remember my Foremost comics. Go watch that video.
All right, I guess I'll try to jump through this quickly. So yeah, this was very much one of those things. And one other thing I'll say too, to even push the point further, some of the pieces that I'm bending back over, if I feel it's necessary, I'll hit them with, like, I'll dip my brush in methylcellulose and then I'll like rub it up against the inner edge to like scrape off most, so there's just a tiny bit there, and I'll hit the outermost part of the crease with the methylcellulose, so it gives it a little bit of extra strength while I'm folding it back over. It's not as relevant in this case, but if you've worked on really tan covers where you're doing that, you start to see that there's a lot of benefit in doing that, because that methylcellulose in some cases literally prevents it from tearing where it would have torn, because the methylcellulose is literally helping to hold it together.
Sure.
So, and then you're basically immediately hitting with the tacking iron. So that's another. Taking a damn cotton swab is the least of, it's really non-invasive. So that's what I did here. I just hit those inner tears with methylcellulose, sealed them up as best as I could, and did the same thing with the front cover, and then got everything ready to attach. If you don't do that, you're going to have weird air pockets with paper that wants to be sealed but isn't. So you got to take the time to do all those little things.
Beautiful.
And then here you can see very visibly that little bindery piece at the bottom there that had to be removed prior to this book being submitted.
Sure.
But you got a nice before and after. It's a little, dry cleaned a little bit. The spine is a little less dirty than it was.
Sure.
And then, man, it's always satisfying seeing this. And I publicly, I completely disagree with CGC's stance for piece. Like, if you can leaf cast a piece fill in, you should be able to manually blend and match toned archival tissues. I completely disagree, because I miss being able to do stuff like this, where instead of being like, okay, I got to spot cast this one area, you can just do this. And what's wrong with it? Sure. There's nothing wrong with it. I digress. I think it looks, the before and after here looks satisfying nonetheless.
Yeah.
And I got a nice photo there. That
beautiful.
It's so satisfying having the natural fold of the cover again, even without the interior there. And then on the right, that is how I'm holding the book. And that's how I hold every book as I'm reinserting the staples in. That's my own way that I do it.
So are you, because we know that
my hands like this.
No, I know what you're doing. I know what you're doing over there. I know what you're doing over there on the right hand side. I was going to ask on the left hand side. Yeah. I think you and I have talked about this. Is you have your wooden piece that you use to create that curve on this, like you kind of moisten the spine because we know that when you do a complete spine split reattachment, it wants to create that sharp edge along the area. So did you kind of moisten it and then roll it over?
Often what I'll do is, I will just humidify the book normally once it's reassembled. And then I'll just take a piece of release paper, and then I'll almost prep it. Let's see if I can show. I'll prep it like this, and I'll just create a very subtle, and then look at that curve. And then I put the spine right up against this, and then I sandwich this. Let me see if I have I'm sure I have a comic book here handy somewhere. So this is a graphic novel, but it'll serve the purpose. So if this is the book, hey, just like that. And then that allows me to kind of pull, like I can
snug it up. Yep.
And then once it's humidified and pulled, then I take my tacking iron and I just will run it up against the It's hard
yeah.
to
I showed that on one of my I showed that on my videos.
And you're reinducing the spine. You don't need a special piece of wood or anything like that.
Okay.
But you could use one for sure. We know some people will kind of hang sheets on
dowels and
exactly.
And I use like a plastic clothes hanger to kind of shape it a bit while it's still a bit moist, and using the like you said, the silicone paper and a tack iron, because it does want to fold along that repaired area, and it's a little difficult sometimes.
It can be tough if it's been ironed quite a bit, but
Right.
One thing that always stuck with me from the original tapes from my mentor who took the class under Bill Cyril was a time when Cyril was mentioning that the spine of these books and covers, it has like a natural memory to it. Like it very much wants to stay how it was. So even after doing work on books like this, in my experience, it's almost like once you've got these covers back there, that edge of the cover was almost bending the way it did anyway. So it's almost as if the book, the cover itself is like, oh, finally I'm back the way I was. So I can sit how the memory of how my memory is if the paper could be sent.
The material
That's what
memory.
I would like to what I'd like to think. The memory very much wants to keep with that curvature. So
Excellent point. Excellent point.
Oh, wow.
Beautiful.
Wow.
Shouldn't do that to begin with.
All right. I'm coming around on this book.
Man, it's such a crazy thing. When I see these photos, I remember exactly how my office was laid out, and I'm pretty sure this book was either before I even moved into this office while I was still working out of my bedroom, and I had a roommate here because I'm in New York City, so this was just seeing the book in front of my press. I never would take my press isn't even on this main table anymore, so that's a trip that brings me back. Here are the nice before and after scans. So that allows you to really see that whole frayed edge.
That presents beautifully.
Back the way it was. It's got some technical tears that crease the top right. A tiny bit of paper missing on the bottom right, but really it's more of just a worn corner that the paper's still there, just a little bit of color loss. And then the back cover here, which again, there's a tiny bit of staining. And for what it's worth, it's a white back cover there, but those tears, if you were to say that there was color there before, that color would be missing. So the tears are still, I guess what I'm saying is they're still evident. They're sealed, but in terms of the technical grade, there's no argument someone would make saying, wow, that looks perfect. No, it looks like there's a tear there, and if you inspect it, you'll say, oh, it's sealed. So just take that into consideration.
Did you do anything special with that married centerfold? Did the holes line up? Did you fill in the holes and remake them, or try to hide the fact?
Yeah, it's a bummer that I don't have photos of that here to show. Presumably, the CGC label is going to tell maybe at least as much of the story as it can going forward, but as far as I remember, it just had a slightly different registration. Staple holes were a little mismatched, so it wasn't anything crazy to note. It wasn't something that it needed a ton of casting because there were huge pieces.
Okay.
Wow,
and beautiful.
That really.
We like seeing it in a nice bag and board. This is how they all were before they got entombed. But realistically, this isn't a $5 book. It's not even a $500 book. It's not even a $5,000 book. This is a valuable enough book that it really does make sense to have it graded. I know there's a lot of purists out there, but hey.
Wow.
So this is what it came back at. And again, this was, if you look at the grade date, this was back in 2021. So
reinforced.
Right, well, hold on. So let's
reinforced centerfold married conservation
38
includes tear seals to cover, spine split sealed, cover and interior. Married centerfold, stress spine lines break color, wear all edges, multiple crease top. They did a great job. You did a great job. This just seems like a solid grade here.
I'd say if you could get the book now and just kind of spot cast that bindery piece on the bottom of the spine, and then I can't remember, maybe the centerfold had a little bit of missing paper that would be beneficial to the cast, and maybe the cover, that bottom right corner, could technically use something. I wouldn't see a grade. I could see a technical grade bump still. I
could too. Yeah, I'd like
a 4 or 5 seems
if you told me this was a 5, I wouldn't be shocked.
I wouldn't be shocked.
But a 4-5 is fair, is by the same token.
It's easy to be critical too, but then you start looking at things where there's the staining on the back cover too, and then there are still the apparent tears. So there are things that it's easy to say, oh, this looks like that, but then it's technical grade.
That's amateur hour when people are doing that.
Yeah. So Go Collect does not show. I know this was sold. Go Collect.
I have one more slide.
Does not show any. I know. Yeah. Go Collect does not show any 4.5s ever being sold. But nowadays, a 4.0 would be around 34,000. A 5.0 would be around 37,000. So if we were to take the average, then it'd be about a 35-50 book. According to today's market, I know that this was sold
universal. You're reporting universal.
I'm saying universal, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So if someone wants to play a game and think of what this might have sold for, then you get a double. You get a double guessing game today.
Yeah. So this was very quickly turned around by my client. But I think it might have even been sent from CGC to the auction house. I'm pretty sure. This was before, I think. In fact, that's where.
So keep in mind, folks, this was sold almost immediately after being graded. So this book was sold in 2021. If you're putting guesses in.
Yeah, this was sold about 4 years ago.
4
years ago. Today's market, which may be a little high compared to 4 years ago, the average universal price would be around $35,500.
If folks want to take a moment to guess, I wouldn't mind talking about this comment from Jason.
Yeah.
So, Phil, I don't know, Phil, if you want to talk about this. You can tell me to be quiet, but there are folks who are conspiracy minded, and we need them in our society because sometimes they're right, not very often.
I can be like that on certain topics for sure.
That said, I don't tend to be that way. My experience has been, for the most part, CGC does not have the time or energy or resources to give any care about any of us. We are effectively kind of ants. I would even go so far as to say that rather than Phil potentially being somebody who's targeted for tougher grading, that in fact, Phil and his reputation, the way that he's conducted himself with CGC, the awareness they have of him, he would more likely than not get the benefit of the doubt in any sort of anything that's on the fence.
You're not favoritism. They like me. They see me and they're like, that guy, absolutely.
I don't want to say that. Listen, I don't want to say that CGC plays favorites anywhere.
They said that I smell good. All this, all these weird things. So
Matt loves to just rub my head when he sees me. He told me it brings him good luck, good fortune. I'll say this though, and I don't think I'm revealing anything here or stating something out of school or saying that they're playing favorites. If there's a question about something that Phil's put in, Matt Nelson will pick up the phone or sit down at his desk and compose an email and say, hey, Phil, this looks like this, but I'm not sure about that. Do you have some pictures? Not necessarily, if you just tell me it wasn't conserved, then of course it's universal. But tell me what you did here. And if you have some evidence of it, then we'll make sure it gets graded appropriately. So, and I know you were saying that in jest, Jason, so I'm not trying to pick on you. But point being, I think there are many people who take that sort of conspiracy-minded stuff very seriously. I've had many people tell me, well, you can't send it from your account. And again, I think certainly it's true of Phil, and I think it's true of I know it's true of me and a few others in our cadre. We have built a reputation for conducting ourselves professionally and ethically. And I'm not going to say anybody gets favoritism from CGC. I don't think that would be ethical on their part, but we will get a benefit of the doubt, and we will get a communique for clarification if something doesn't quite make sense. And so I think it actually benefits us to be out there and to be well known. And in Phil's case, because he takes on clients, it benefits his clients as well.
Yep. Hello, Jason. So Southern Comic Geek just joined.
Hey, Jason.
Our buddy Jason, whom you've met, Paul.
Yep.
But yes, big original art collector. So before the show, Phil and I were talking about that. Now, one thing too is they do grade all these things blind, meaning they do not know who they come from. Now, if a question from a grader comes up, they will then hand it over to someone whom can look up who submitted it, but that grader will not know. That would be given to an independent person like Matt, usually Matt.
Yeah.
Matt can look up and see whom, who submitted it and reach out if necessary to that person. But everything is done blindly in order to not give any kind of idea of preferential treatment.
Yeah, or improprietary behavior. Absolutely.
I think on a technical level, this book's a 4 or 5 too. I don't remember being like, oh man, this shouldn't be a 4 or 5. It's possible just to give the grade the benefit of the doubt that the married centerfold here was from a bound copy, maybe not bound and trimmed, but maybe bound in a way where it had a decent amount of non-structural paper missing or something like that. So, we look a lot like, looking at the photos, and we always have these, I do it myself, these preconceived notions of what the grade should be and everything like that. But one thing I will say is CGC, like, for errors is really, really good. I have a direct relationship with Matt Nelson, but that's only because a lot of the books I'm working on are 5-figure books, 6-figure books in some cases. So they're on a level where it's more to his attention to know those things are happening, and he has the availability to step in. But for most cases, even including those, if you don't have a relationship with Matt, CGC's customer service does the exact same thing that Matt does for me. You just have to call them, and you have to jump over one more hurdle than I do.
Yeah.
So it's really no different. I'm not getting any special treatment.
Regarding the grade, I'll say one last thing here. A 4 or 5, if this was a
I didn't say it was just theoretically, Jason, just to be clear. I'm not. It's more like if you want to detail just what the cover looks like here, we could look over tears and everything to see that maybe a 5.5 actually would be more generous, and that maybe a 5 is okay, and then we're only one deviation away. But that the point is a 4 or 5 isn't a crazy stretch really on the grade here. That's all.
Yeah. Welcome, AG. Glad to have you on the cast.
Hey, Aubrey.
We didn't have a lot of guesses. We had a few.
We didn't. We had 4 people guess.
Yeah.
So
I know the number, so I'm not going to guess.
I know the number too.
We have Collecting Chaos at 25K. We have Professor at 32. We have Jason at 27, 150, and Vulu at 21.
18. It's my favorite number. My lucky number. 18K. And I thought this was a pretty strong price given the fact that it's got a married piece. I think even at the time I was thinking like 16. So 18 was cool. It's got a heck of a lot of eye appeal.
It sure does. And again, remember, folks, this is a sale from 2021. So not contemporaneous with current values on this book. Despite where a lot of comic books have gone, Golden Age, especially Golden Age keys, have gone up since this period in time. There was a little hiccup in early 2023, I think, in some of these books, but the general trend has continued to be up for Golden Age, especially for certain pockets of the market, keys included.
Yeah. So I'll say like this would be more than half of today's current value,
right?
Although, like we have continuously said, this was sold 4 years ago. Now, this book does sell quite often. And a recent sale of the 5.0 Universal, even though fair market value is $37,000, one sold in the past year for $50,000.
Yeah.
So I would fully expect if this was to sell again, probably be around
27.5. Yeah.
It'd be around the 28 to 30,000 price.
Yeah. Could be. Yeah. I would guess it's going to fetch 25 or more would be where
easily.
My head would be at.
Easily.
It really does present very well.
Incredible.
And one of the things about technical grades, and that's why we say buy the book, not the grade, there's a lot of different defects allowed in a 4.5. You could have a chunk missing even from the front cover and still get a 4.5, right?
Yeah.
The fact that you don't have that here is an indication that this has, really exceptional eye appeal for the grade. And so I would expect this to be challenging those fair market values in terms of Universal at this grade.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's also very possible that, enough time has passed. Someone could have got this, had it cracked out, looked at the centerfold, maybe re-looked at the cover and said, hey, technically we can add a little paper here casting. They redo it. Maybe they press a little bit of the spine stress out that I wasn't able to totally press out. Because in my opinion, this was long enough ago where I feel that my work was very good then, but I think we're always trying to improve and do better. And I think my pressing is way better than it was then. Maybe even the press could have been the difference between the 4.5 and the 5. So anything's possible. I wouldn't be surprised if they pop up again.
Oh, yeah. AG, in our A segment, we profiled a book that sold for 90% in Conserved of what the universal fair market value is. They've been kind of all around the place. Last week, we actually featured one that sold for a bit of a premium over the previous universal. I don't think that's the norm, but we've seen it a few times this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard to say, but the further you go back, the more difficult the book is to acquire, the more likely you can fetch a high percentage of universal with a Conserved book.
Yeah.
So.
And I think that's what I know you and Paul and I, we've talked about this, and even we talked about it with Matt, is if you were to think that a restored book should be 30%, I'm just making up a number, 30% of fair market value, we have to agree that a conserved book, right, a true conserved book, which means that it has high quality and high quality restoration or conservation done to it, and what's the other one? Quality and
professional materials, professional
materials and stuff. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Then we would hope that these start bringing more around the 50% or higher.
Yeah. And let me very specifically, because I started to sort of address this, but AG's question here is very specific. Do you think Conserved books are increasing at a rate that is relative to Universal and Golden Age keys? I would actually argue here that they are increasing as a percentage. They are increasing in value faster than Universal. Why? Because they started at a level, like we all recognize that restored books sell at a discount. And Conserved, when it just got started, people didn't know the difference. Conserved books were selling for about the same discount as restored, and they are now gapping. They are now, as Shelby just explained, they're pretty. There's still a lot of noise. There's still a lot of noise. There's still a very few sales, right? These books, by their nature, they're not coming up for sale every week. But within the noise, you're seeing a trend. Conserved books are definitely gapping higher. They're selling for a higher percentage of Universal than are restored on average in the Golden Age, which means as much as Universal is appreciating, these books are actually appreciating at a greater percentage than Universal is, because they're closing the gap to Universal relative to the value that they had just a few years ago.
Right. Exactly. And remember, when we talk about conserved grade, it's using the same scale as a restored grade, right? It's the peak of it's a 1 and it's an A. In the restored levels that then places it in that conserved grade. So
to your point, I mean, that was a little bit wordy, but to your point, it's just better than restored.
It is.
Regarding the materials and the craftsmanship, you can do all kinds of things to a comic book and send it to CGC. There's a it's a very small group of materials allowed, a very small group of professionalism in terms of how the work presents that's allowed to be in conserved. Anything that deviates from that or doesn't quite hit that highest tier gets dumped into restored. Right?
Yes.
I think that it's possible, maybe I'm misspeaking here, but I think that it's possible that the advanced cleanings that are being done on books too, and especially stuff like what Captain Larry did on that Thrilling Comics, where he deacidified the entire book, including the cover. That was all he did, sent it back in, and it came back universal. Mm-hmm. That, I think, helps perception on things like books that had slightly brittle pages that are washed, where even if it says interior cleaned, if I think even if that is all it is, I think that book, depending on the grade, might have more value than a lower grade copy of the same book with slightly brittle pages. Of course. So, we're towing the line. It's happening right now, but I think it feels suspiciously like we've shown so many books now over the past 14, 15 months, the conserved books, including cover cleaned, even just cover cleaned and it's conserved, getting very respectable numbers. I like to present both sides of any reasonable argument. We've also seen a few sell for just dirt rock bottom prices, right? Like that Adventure 73 comes to mind, that Conserved 7.0 that just went for like freaking peanuts. The owner of it actually reached out to me. He had Kenny remove the conservation and reckons he created like 40 or 50,000 in equity with that move, just because that particular book sold for such a discount. So I do think it's trending higher, and I'm not saying it to refute what you're saying there, Phil, but I think that's more of an outlier too.
But there are outliers, and there are there's a lot of noise still in the signal. So
like that book was more of like treated like a restoration removal job, even though it was technically conservation, because the technical grade dropped in a matter that you would normally see with restoration removal jobs, not conservation removal. Like conservation removal, normally you would see, it's the cover's attached. So if you're at an 8, you're going down to a 4. You're not going to go from a 7 to a 6. That's not going to happen with a cover that's reattached. So.
Sure. But. Awesome. I really enjoyed that. Thank you so much, Phil. I think we treated Dick okay. We weren't too mean to him. I didn't highlight any of Jason's really mean comments about Dick. So
and I know we're always
he
trying
lives to swing another day. That Dick lives to swing another day.
We're always showing fresh content. So I know, there were some people that saw this book and they were like, "Oh man, I've already seen this on Phil's Instagram," or I watched him, live a couple months ago after the fiasco and everything. And great, now I got to re-see this book. Well, I hope you liked it a second time.
But I think we brought up some really good topics, with like the humidification, the way to approach that, diving into some different areas we didn't dive into in the previous time that is presented. And I know that we were trying to shrink for time too, so we probably went through it really quickly and didn't give it the amount of time that it really deserved. And I feel like some people learned something. So we're entertaining and educational.
I did. So to wrap up, thank you to my wonderful co-hosts, handsome Phil, handsome Shelby. Thank you to Collecting Chaos and Sales Boy, who sponsored this episode. If you're watching it live ad-free, it's thanks to them. Thank you for the sponsors of next episode, Don Carter, Sales Boy Comics, You Pluck My Last Nerve, and Archivist Adrift. And we'll give them a shout out again next week. I want to thank everybody for joining us, whether you joined us live, which is the most fun, or whether you're watching us later on replay. And I also want to say again, I just lost my train of thought with the comments coming in. Everybody's so kind. Thank you all so much.
Yeah, thanks everyone for tuning in. I've had a surprising amount of people tell me that they've tuned in, even if it was just one episode here or there. And there are people who I never would have thought would watch this. And guys, these are here on YouTube unless Dr. Paul removes them forever. So we can just always point back. Man, look.
I'm looking forward. What I was going to say is this: we're really already looking forward to Collector Summit in Dallas in November, and so I hope to see more of the viewers there. I know there's already folks that are looking forward to it, and we're going to have some creators there this year, and so I hope
I'll have a job by then so I can attend.
Yeah, I hope we can raise a mug together, in November for anybody that has the means and the availability. It'd be great to see you there. And with that, I'll say until next time, take care of one another. Shelby, say goodbye for us.
Thank you all for tuning in, and always remember, peace, love, and comics. Bye.
I know.
Thanks for tuning in.